notice something a little different right from the start. It was time for a music update. I had instrumental music that my stepson created for me since the beginning of the podcast, but thought a change was in order. If you all hate it, I'll go back. Give me some feedback on that. On this episode of Scammer Stories, we're going to hear about a romance scam from two different angles. One from a victim herself, and the other from a family member of a victim. We begin with Tabby. Her family has endured one heartbreaking challenge after another. It began with her mother's declining health, then a romance scam turned their lives upside down, but the nightmare didn't end there. Now, the family is facing serious financial hardship. Multiple family members, including Tabby herself, have battled major health issues. And through it all, Tabby's mother remains responsible for raising two adopted children after the devastating impact of the scam and her hospitalization. This isn't just a story about financial loss. It's about the ripple effects of romance scams and how one victim can leave an entire family struggling to rebuild. Tabby joins me with an honest update on where her family is today, the challenges they still face, and why they're refusing to give up.
She was married and life was pretty good. He kept everything really stable. He provided very well. He was a hard worker. He kind of took care of everything. Her health was failing a bit. She's always had some challenges in the health arena. And she's had diabetes for a while. It runs in my family.
Her father was the glue that held the family together. Then he started to have problems.
So he did a lot. So he had some kind of issue with his heart. I want to say aortic valve. He was always working and he did a lot of volunteer work. He worked for our church for many years. Some of that was paid, some of it was not. And I get teary thinking about this because he used to always go and do things for the widows. And it's actually kind of ironic now that his widow is left on the wayside, kind of. And a lot of people, I think, and I can't speak for anyone and I can't judge them there or where they are, but I think a lot of people, it's easy to judge mom and say, how could she be so silly? But just like someone else pointed out to me, they weren't there when that bed suddenly became empty, when the house suddenly went quiet and there was no one to talk to, no one to go run and get the prescription, no one to weed eat the yard, no one to barbecue the chicken in the fridge. He was gone and it literally devastated her. It was devastating. And it's so devastating to her that she still hasn't really fully dealt with it. And I know that she hasn't.
Tabby's father ended up passing, and her mother joined a widows group. She immediately started connecting with the man there.
And it had only been 6 months. And, of course, all of us were telling her, hey, mom, you're not ready for anything. Give it time. You need to heal. And she's like, I'm healed. I'm fine. But I think what she did is really just kind of shoved it all down there. She's at the point where it's hard for her to be in the house and look at dad's ashes and kind of exist with that pain and kind of let that pain just feel it. And she doesn't realize that with grief, it's a beast. I know it. I lost a baby girl and I know it's not the same as losing a husband of 30 years. I'm not saying it's the same, but I'm saying like loss hurts. It is so painful. And the only thing you can do is literally I don't even know if you get through it, but you have to feel it. You have to deal with it little by little as you can. Obviously, you can't deal with it all at once. And it comes in waves.
Tabby's mother was found unresponsive.
Her sugars were over 800. She had stopped taking her insulin because she had given up. I mean, everything was closing in on her. All the debt from what he kept exacting from her. And I read some of his messages, April. So my dad passed in 24. And then within 6 months, she's on a widow site trying to get support because she's literally devastated and broken. Somebody starts reaching out and saying things to her that is kind of soothing that pain a little bit that is obviously immeasurable, right? And she told me about him. And I was like, the sad thing, April, is that I think that our mom's generation, they're very naive to the fact that there's real people online that literally live and exist to do this to people. And so when she told me that this guy was this and that, and he needed money. She was like, how wonderful is he? And he's rich, but he's stuck in China, sick in bed. And I'm like, Mom, do not send anything to anybody. I told her from day one, when she lost my dad, I said, your resources are for you. She had a life insurance policy from him, $100,000. And he leaked it from her, every last penny. And then she took out a mortgage on the house, a second mortgage. She's paying 2 mortgage payments. And no wonder her house is in foreclosure. So it's just been, this is not even the tip of the iceberg, and it's so frustrating, April, because of where she is emotionally and everything. It's been really hard. You can't convince them. And he would tell her things like, they're just jealous. They're trying to break us up. And she stonewalled me, April. You know how hurtful that was? When my dad passed away for the first time, my mom needed me, and I couldn't be everything. I couldn't be her savior. I was there as much as I could be. You know what I mean? Like, I would go to her house. I helped her get everything set with Social Security and made sure that she had financial stability, because I had worked for Access. That's our state run thing here. So I knew a little bit. I knew just enough to know, hey, we've got to call Social Security. I knew the number, nothing. It's a lot to navigate when you're grieving. So it was nothing heroic. It was just showing up the practical things, like, let's do this. Let's get this done, Mom. You've got it. This is the next step. Kind of things. So APS got involved, and they actually tried to intervene, and I thought they got through to her, April. And now she didn't continue stonewalling me, but she's kept me at arm's length. And I hoped and prayed and believed that while he had taken her down a long, hard road, she was making it, and that she wasn't talking to him anymore.
Then Tabby's health started to fail. She has epilepsy, among other things, and couldn't even walk around the block without extreme exhaustion.
So it's been really hard because I have my own cognitive issues. So when Mom's having cognitive issues and APS is telling me, Adult Protective Services is saying, take her to court, I'm over here like, I can't even take care of myself. How can I take care of my mom? Do you know how much I would love to be able to just take over here, And it's really hard too, Igor, because my sisters have been estranged for her for years. It became this whole like weird thing. So when Mom was found unconscious and intubated and in ICU for 5 days, all of a sudden the sisters, were like, hey, we got to take conservatorship, take her to court. I didn't have a problem with that, April. One thing that scared me was some things that were being said, which I will not repeat. I don't ever want them repeated in my mom's ears. But what they were saying made me nervous. And so I'm a believer. I was praying over it. I was just like, I didn't really know what to do with it, and I knew I couldn't do it myself. So I asked my older sister, who's very capable of managing things, and I was hopeful that healing would happen through this, right? I said, I would like to have a legal voice for Mom. If you're going to take conservatorship, I just want to be part of it. You can do the stuff, but I just want to be able to have a voice for her, especially with what was being said.
You know how I always say these scams affect the entire family? Well, sometimes even tear them apart. This is what I mean.
So that didn't fly. There was all this family drama and conflict. And April, I still looking back on it, I can't pinpoint what the problem was. But all I know is that the day that they asked her to sign power of attorney over, and she said no, they both were out. They were like, I'm out. We're gone. Again, estranged. Not talking to Mom, not coming to see her. It was the weirdest thing.
Was it for their mental health, or was it because she wouldn't give him control?
I'm really glad you said that, because I may have been misinterpreting that, and it was frustrating to me because now I'm left holding it all. I'm like, thanks, guys.
Now that Tabby's mother barely survived, she had other challenges, like the house. Paramedics could barely get to her because the house was so full. The house has now been condemned.
It's been a nightmare, literally. And thankfully, I do have some good friends that came and helped me prepare the house for her homecoming. But it's temporary unless we get a miracle. The auction for the house is September 11th. Like I said, I have my own issues, and everything is so overwhelming to me. I've been having to just take it one thing at a time. So first it was like, okay, we're getting the house up to code, even if we can't save it, even though it was a lot of work and I had lots of episodes. Mom doesn't know about that. And praying for strength and wisdom for the next step. I have a friend that works in like financial advisement. And she's like, the number one thing is protect the assets. She is mentally exhausted. She is cognitively overloaded at anything. Okay. And we can't get all the information we need to make a plan. Like, she doesn't even want to talk about it. And she doesn't realize that we're trying to help her by getting this information, because she even took loans out on the cars. Cars were paid off. That, yeah, the truck was repossessed. We can get it out, but it's going to be like $1,500, and I'm not even working. And we've got a house full at my house. But I mean, I really wish that somebody would come with a magic wand and fix this for my mom. But the reality is, I can see that I don't think any magic wand is coming. I think that we're just going to have to keep picking up the rest of the pieces, and it's really hard.
Tabby's mother also has 2 adopted Native American children. They were the ones with the faces blurred in the GoFundMe page I shared on Facebook.
So, I had my hands full taking care of, my own things, my own life, and not that it's not important to me. I told my mom, I said, and this is something I had to learn when we were trying to convince her, April. We were showing her pictures, because right away when she started talking about this guy and I saw his profile on Facebook, I was like, this isn't real, because he had 5 friends and his picture he looked like he was 20 years younger than my mom.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah, no, it wasn't realistic. And then, so we researched him. We just took his picture, put it through Google. And we literally found him, this image.
The man's face is a Swedish model who shows up with multiple profiles with different names. And the real guy has a warning all over his official page.
There's a whole generation of people that they don't understand it. And so I think it's great that you're raising awareness with it, so that people can hopefully be more aware. I mean, if you know what's coming before it hits you, I wish she had the same concern. And it's really hard with our parents because, I remember her telling me, April, she would tell me, I'm the mom.
Tabby and I talked about our mothers and the lasting legacy, and I liked what she had to say next.
As they say, it's cliche, but we don't have to let our worst moments define us. And just because it was her final moments, she was a victim. What these people do, it is evil. They literally exploit people's vulnerability, their finances. They act like they care for someone in order to exact and drain them, and literally killing your mom and almost killing mine. It's insane. My mom was so down and out from what was happening, from, she's losing everything. And she didn't tell me. She was keeping me at arm's length, remember? So she's at this part where she's not stonewalling me, making me think, okay, something's wrong. She's hiding something from me, but she's keeping me at arm's length. It's like, hey, Mom, how's it going? I'm good. Everything's fine. And I think she's doing okay. I'll check on her. And that was pretty much how it was. I'd see her at church. We'd hug, we'd talk. I had no indication that she was still struggling, but she wasn't sharing that she was still talking to him, because she knew what I would do. She knew I'd go to battle again, and I would fight, and I would be calling the police and call it for what it's worth.
When Tabby's mother was still in the hospital and kind of out of it, her and her sisters were able to go through her phone.
So my sister saw inside the bank account and told me that. Because for a minute, my mom was still coming out of everything. And she at first gave my sister that authority without officially signing anything. And so she told me, she's like, there's all these pension deposits, $30,000. And when she told me that, I was like, oh my goodness. I actually initially thought that. I was scared for my mom. I was like, oh no, this doesn't sound legal. Like, my mom doesn't even know probably that something illegal might be happening. And, I don't want to highlight the fact that I tried to convince her, but it is part of the problem. Because if you can show them and get them out of it, you can get ahead of it. I tried to stop the train. I even told her, Mom, I'm being selfish when I tell you this. I said those words to her. I need you to be okay. I got my own ship I'm trying to keep afloat over here. And if yours goes down, I'm not taking mine down. Okay. So sometimes the lie hurts worse than the silence. Like they might even know they're being lied to possibly. And my mom would come and back and forth with it. So sometimes she would get it, but then it was like he kept sucking her back in. And that was the frustrating thing. So I would get little pieces for a little while. She was back and forth before she stonewalled me and then put me at arm's length and made me think that she wasn't talking to him anymore. Like I feel so responsible. I'm actually, I don't think I've come to grips with it, but I feel so much compassion for her, I promise. But I'm also struggling. Like I'm angry. I'm angry that I couldn't get through to her, but I don't judge her. I know I'm in this weird place, but it's frustrating.
Tabby knows someone needs to take charge, but she just can't because of all her own issues.
I don't really have the bandwidth for this mess. I don't have it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's so big. It's so much bigger than I am, and it's so painful to watch her and to see her in the aftermath and know that we really don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen to her truck, and her truck is only important because it has some equity in it. But now it's been repoed. And so if we could get it out of repo, then maybe we could get the house out of foreclosure. The guilt is real, but that's what I told her. I said, I can't be your savior. And I didn't tell her this part, but I found that out the hard way when I tried to get ahead of it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then I told her, I said, but I can be your loving, supportive daughter. And that's where and it's hard. Like, you know, we're like trying to figure out, okay, you know, what do we do to help mom get the truck out so that hopefully it can help her, you know? But at the end of the day, we're also like, okay, we're going to do all of this. And is she going to actually stop? Did she lose enough to stop? I don't know.
Tabby is hoping now that the money is gone, it'll help.
My dad had life insurance of
Mm-hmm.
100,000,
Mm-hmm.
and she doesn't have any of that. She took out a second mortgage on the house, which she couldn't afford to pay. I don't know. I'm really angry that these people are giving my mom loans.
I can relate to everything Tabby had to say, and my heart just breaks for her. I'm in therapy to try and cope better with what happened to my mom. You can follow my therapy journey on the Scammer Stories Facebook page. Now, we move on to the other side of the story with Amber. Now, Amber admits she's struggling with some pretty severe mental health issues as well as addiction. But we're going to start with her greatest accomplishment before the scam.
So I was born in Cape Town, South Africa. And to a greater or lesser degree, like my early childhood was okay. I enjoyed junior school, and that's kind of when I started swimming. Okay, I love water, so I'm a water person. Then the high school that I went to, it wasn't really the right high school for me, and my parents, also my mom had my baby brother, which is a bit like there's a 13-year gap. Anyway, I managed to finish school and, get into university to study fine art.
A quick trigger warning here. We're about to talk about some very, very difficult topics involving eating disorders, alcoholism, and suicide. You can stop now if it's triggering.
When I was at school, that's kind of when I started with an eating disorder, around the age of 15, 16.
What was the reason for your mental health issues?
I have no clue. I mean, there was insecurity at home. At school, it was very competitive. It was an all-girls school. There was a lot of people with eating disorders. I changed degrees to do jewelry design, and I don't know, the wheels kind of fell off. And I also think kind of when I went to university, that's when I started with drinking stuff, as I am an alcoholic person. Anyway, I have a British passport. My parents are British. So I landed up going over to London.
She ended up in London and started lifeguarding. She didn't know that was about to change her life. She ended up falling in love with cold water swimming. Amber now holds multiple Guinness World Records for the longest under ice breath hold swims. Since then, she's traveled all over the world, which makes it complicated.
And I took money out of the country for my father and I drank it away. But then through AA meetings, which I knew about, I managed to stop drinking. And then I had like a couple of years or so where I was totally sober. I'm dealing with the police here because I gave money from Germany and the UK. I kind of need Interpol or something involved, but the only way I can do that is through the police. And I'm in South Africa and our police force is corrupt. I mean, I lost everything. I was homeless. I was living in a homeless shelter in town because my mom wouldn't have me back at the house, you know. And I don't know. I think I just ended up like, you know, I pawned my wedding ring. I pawned like so many things that I've given away, you know. And I don't know. I don't know what made me end up coming to my senses, you know. And I blocked them. Then I got another message from somebody else, you know, and it was so tempting. You know what I mean? I get this long message from a British number saying he's looking into it. But of course, I still have to pay like 1,000 rand in to get my money. I mean, it's very tempting. You know what I mean? It's like they played with my mind. I mean, they took 2 years of my life. I mean, they played with my brain.
Amber ended up spending time in prison for stealing to get money for scammers.
I mean, for me, the hardest part of it all, I mean, I was terrified when I went. Okay, I'm a woman, so it's probably nicer than the men's prison, you know. But it wasn't as scary as I thought, but the containment was terrible for me. I mean, I'm an athlete, you know, I'm a free spirit. To be like confined to a space was terrible. And they get drugs in. I would have become a drug addict if I'd stayed in prison longer. You know what I mean? They managed to get drugs into prison. It's so hectic, you know. Yeah. It's not as frightening as I thought it might be, but yeah, I would have definitely become a drug addict. I would have used drugs if I'd stayed in prison, that's for sure. I kind of have the feeling here that there's some people that are addicted to prison because, you know, you don't have any responsibility then, you know what I mean? You get fed, you have a place to stay, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's not for me, but yeah, it's been really, really hard, and I've been really battling. This really made me drink a lot, the scam. It really triggered my drinking, you know? And I don't know how to forgive myself, how to stay sober now, and how to rebuild my life. And I really wish I could bring some justice to these guys, you know what I mean? That would be like my ultimate, you know, long way to go and see. And he did say, because I'd already opened the case, he would chase it up, but I haven't heard anything.
So tell me what that was like talking to your mother about this, and how is that relationship now?
Well, it's been hard, man. I've been in a homeless shelter. I've been, because I kind of went to the rehab, which was like a Christian rehab, and then I suddenly got kicked out of it. And I was like 2.5 hours outside Cape Town, so I kind of freaked out because I had nowhere to live, you know.
Now, why'd they kick you out?
I have absolutely no idea. They said to me that I had stolen or something. But subsequently, I met somebody at church who was like studying to be a counselor there. And she wasn't there. She was in Cape Town when I got kicked out. But she said the owner kind of went mental and everybody's left. So I think it wasn't necessarily me. It was something deeper than that. But I have no idea, you know. So I landed up, the church helped me, and they found me a place in Cape Town, which is like an NGO which helps get people off the street and helps get people clean. But then they agreed to let me stay there for, it was like over Christmas and New Year. And then it was very, the end date came and they wanted to kick me out. I didn't really want to go to a homeless shelter. Anyway, the next day I was at a homeless shelter in Cape Town, which was pretty awful. And Yeah, I ended up, I don't know, I was allowed out more, and my mom let me come home for weekends. And then my dad isn't speaking to me, by the way. And then, I got robbed at gunpoint in Cape Town. I got everything stolen from me, which was really scary. And I did ask my mom if I could come back home, and she said yes. And our relationship is, she came to therapy with me, and she said, like, she doesn't trust me at all, you know? And it's difficult. She's 82. So, yeah, it's just difficult, you know. I have no money. I have to ask her for money. It's awful. It's terrible. Yeah. Anyway, that's where I am at the moment in my world.
I want to thank Amber for opening up. She has a lot of healing to do, and I know it's difficult to share. If you or someone you know is struggling with self-harm, call the crisis hotline at 988. Stay safe, Scammer Warriors. Until next time.
Now she speaks for the ones too stunned to even zone.